All right, and just like that, we are back again with another episode of the Mind the Growth podcast. As always, I'm Chris Kinghorn.
And I'm Eric Hoffman.
Eric, we got a special guest today. We've got Nicholas DeRegis on the line
Sweet.
here.
Nick
What's
or
up? What's
Nicholas
up?
or Nikki?
Good question. Good question. So now I just go by Nicholas as much as I can because it's a little more memorable.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
Nick's pretty just out there.
For the
so-
ladies, right?
Yeah, for the ladies, it can be in business, it can be kind of whatever, you know, it is what you want to make of it, right? So go by Nick. Some people call me Doughboy, some people call me D-Boy. I don't know, all this different stuff.
Well, there's gotta be a story there.
Yeah, no, it's all from childhood stuff. But no, he knows a lot of
I
that.
remember a few of those. We had
Yeah.
we had all the nicknames in baseball and whatnot on the
yeah.
hats and jerseys
Yeah,
and whatnot.
Oh, dude, yeah. See, you
Yeah.
right it was out. Yeah, we had Slider in there. Shoot,
Yeah.
what was your name?
Topher. I
Topher,
was
dude.
Topher.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Dude, no, it's fun. We had a lot of nicknames, and so I'll go by whatever
All right.
you want to call me, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll go with Nicholas.
Okay,
'cause
thank you.
That is memorable.
All right, Doughboy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh man, no, I think I guess who am I? I'm really just like I'm a former athlete that tried to take as much as he could learn on the field, in the court, or you know, in the locker room, whatever you want to say, in the weight room, and take it and apply same principles to business and just kind of my life as much as possible. And so that's what I do. I think it's been a good ride so far, and that's as much as I think I can explain. I think my clarity says I don't know. It says something like I thrive at putting resources and people together in collaborative environments with momentum to help everyone succeed and make a win-win for everyone. So I guess that's really who I am.
I like it.
So there's a lot of directions to go with that. First,
Yeah.
what sports did you play growing up?
Great question. So played a little baseball with Chris, a little football.
I wasn't good enough. I had to stop at some point, so he continued on. He continued to
No,
progress
so
athletically. I did
Topher
not.
struck out a few
Dude,
too many
dude,
times.
Topher was on the bench pretty
Yeah.
Oh
frequently.
man, no, that's good. I played baseball and football up through high school and a little basketball. Got cut at least I think at one point. But no, I had a good experience with sports, and then played baseball up through college, and and then had to exit and had to transition into the real world and try to find a new identity, and you know how that can go. So no, great experience all around.
Did you play here locally?
Yeah, I played here. I went to Chaparral and in high school, and then ended up going to Texas State,
Okay.
playing for a semester, and then back to a junior college here at Chandler Gilbert, and then went to University of Rhode Island, finished up out there.
Nice, all
Yeah.
around. So in my experience, I did not play sports like that
Okay,
growing up.
okay.
I ran cross country and track because I was too short to
What'd
make
you
the
run?
basketball team. I ran for track. I ran the mile and the
Okay.
2 mile.
Okay, dude,
Cross country, I ran the 5K, which is what you
3-2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
I wasn't very good, so let's get the record straight.
Look, this is what I'll say. Running, I don't care who you are. Like,
Yeah.
dude, that's when you're just out there. You're with your thoughts. You're with no one else. You know, back when we were growing up, like how much do we have music when we were running? It's like you're grinding.
Yeah,
And
it wasn't easy.
no. So, dude,
But the point is, in the people I know who excelled in team sports, they tend to do better in business environments because a lot of the things that you learn in team sports can replicate and go into
doubt.
business with a collaborative environment like you were talking about. So going from college baseball to, working in the real world,
yeah.
how did that transition go? What was your first foray into it?
Yeah, good question. I think there was plenty of things I took away. You know, I think, preparation is huge,
Mhm.
right? I think, the ability to intangible items, I guess, hard work, discipline, teamwork, the broad
Practice.
practice, what is it? Repetition is the mother and father of, repetition is the mother and father of mastery. And so, it's like, shoot, that's one thing you learn. And I think you learn just preparation as much as possible, whether it's, I don't know, any sport. Like film is huge, but how can you watch film? Okay, can you listen to your own phone calls? Can you listen to yourself in your own meetings? Like what, that's
Yeah.
like not everyone's really willing to do that, or even, that's necessarily a thing with some organizations, but oh man, it's so important. And so team management, I think one thing that I really took away is the ability to communicate and talk. And one thing I had to learn in business that I didn't necessarily learn in sports, because you really speak to just a couple different people, right, in your sport. So that's one thing I think I took away from that I had to learn in the real world, I guess, that would set aside from me learning in the field or in sports.
Sure. That makes perfect sense. And what was your first position in work?
Good question.
Yeah, because
Or Chris can take
let
take
me
us
kind
in
of
the
roll
next-
into this.
We could always freaking
Yeah.
go forever.
No, because you've been part of some pretty quickly growing brands. So
Yeah.
can you give us a little bit of context on your involvement and maybe some of your biggest takeaways that have put you in the position that you're in now?
Yeah, cool. You know, I'm very blessed and fortunate. I think I was around, just like sports, very high level mentors or coaches in any environment that I've been in. I'm very grateful for it. Whether, you know, being in Scottsdale, you have great, you know, ex-athletes or athletic trainers, coaches, etc. And then in the workforce, or, you know, when it comes to business, entrepreneurship, whatever you want to call it, I think I've been around people that are young and relatable and also have great guidance from their mentors. And so I've been very blessed to be around great people. Now, I think, you know, one thing that I've learned is just that you have to be able to adapt. And I've been able to just go into different organizations like, you know, Anthony, our good buddy, I think, you know pretty well. You know, we're marketers, and he had a marketing agency, and then we went into the affiliate world, and you know, we did a lot in that, and it was just, you know, I'm just kind of doing whatever we needed to do. He had a family business, very small, which I think you guys are involved with family business as well, and so at that point, it's like, hey, you know, whatever we got to do, we got to do. So I got to see a lot of marketing side of things. I got to see a lot of sales and marketing from different positions. I started in a corporation called Northwestern Mutual. It's a big $1 billion company. So I'm blessed that I got to experience that right out of college. To go back and answer your question,
Yeah.
I was like, you know, a financial representative. And so I got to experience that. And then from that, I got to go right into the startup world where, you know, you're an agency, you're trying to figure it all out. And it was a great experience. So I don't know if to answer your question, but yeah, I think my experience in those was whatever it needed to be at the time. And so I think that was probably, you got to hire someone, you got to be the human resources, you got to be human resources, you got to put together SOPs for processes, even though I didn't even know what those were at the time. You got to do that, right? So it's just like, what you got to sell the business, you got to make introductions. You know, so it's just, I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that I got to kind of learn so many different positions inside of companies because it was in such a
Incubation
adolescent stage.
Yeah. Small business. Great. So tell us your experience with Northwestern Mutual, because I interned there too.
Man.
And there's
Did
a
you
lot
intern there?
there's
We
a
could
lot of
go on this
things
for a
that-
while, I think.
Eric still has a life policy
learned.
from his
Yeah.
first job that he's
Oh, me
trying to
too.
get rid of too.
It's a requirement.
I got a cash value life insurance policy. I tell you what, I'm so glad I'll pay that $228 every month.
Exactly.
But you know, we'll see. But my experience, so I was an intern.
Yep.
And I did the post-grad internship. Very blessed, met 2 mentors. I still talk to both of them, actually. And so, you know, that was a big transitional period in my life because I was exiting sports.
Mhm.
And so, okay, how can you find yourself inside of Northwestern Mutual, inside an organization that you really have your own little company,
Yeah.
right inside, and you're getting the guidance, as you know. And so it's like, that's a lot of pressure coming, trying to find my identity. Now, interesting about that, I actually convinced myself that that was what my purpose was, because I know I needed to do that in order to go do what I had to do to succeed in that position, which was probably the biggest takeaway, that I can, you know, I was actually willing and able, even though you don't feel like good, like, am I supposed to be doing this?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you got to, or, you know. So that was a huge takeaway for me. Now, I left and ended up going and doing this, you know, a startup world, and we had a marketing agency, and I actually went back and talked to the managing partner, and I said, hey, look, there's a big opportunity out there. I wish I would have known when I was a rep. And when I was working, obviously I care about, you know, our people that I was work with, my mentors. You know, I think there's a huge opportunity in this digital marketing space that you guys can attack. And, you know, he said, you're chasing a genie in a string bikini. And and I said, all right, deuces, you know. So I think that was my kind of experience there. I learned so much about sales, about marketing. You know, I think another reason why I left, and I want to hear a little experience, excited, but I felt that when people thought I was being nice to them because I wanted their business, that's when I said, I don't think this is for me. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah, disingenuine to get the sale done.
yeah, and it's like,
Almost in a sense.
no, I'm not. I'm just like, that's the way I am. Like, I talk to everyone, you know, if I'm going up to someone at the gym, or I'm going up and seeing someone, you know, it's like, okay, you know, it's not because I want your business, it's because I'm just, and when I can kind of get a sense of that, I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And for my experience in particular, at the time, I think like most people coming out of college was motivated by money, and it seemed like the big ticket uh, entry into the real world. But in particular, I thought what I took away from it most was being comfortable with discomfort, reaching out to friends and family, trying to sell them a life insurance policy, which
Sphere of influence.
yeah, there's sphere of
COI
influence.
is a shit. I still use
Yeah.
that term. Yeah.
And it is uncomfortable. It does feel like you're disingenuous and selling something maybe you don't fully understand or you're not fully behind. And I also took that as a sign that it's not for everybody. Not everybody needs a whole life insurance policy.
For sure.
And that's really what they try to hammer into you. Rightfully so. It's a business that makes money
Of
on
course.
selling whole life insurance policies.
course.
So
And
I understand the mechanisms.
Totally. And, as a business, as you grow older, you understand exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like you said, the COIs are everything. That's a huge part of their business. I think they know that, or a lot of these companies, the whole process inside of recruiting, getting the right people
Mhm.
is where the challenge lies. Now, I think that whole process too can be improved. Just because you got to have someone, it's okay. How can we get people in, but also set the expectations of what they're getting into?
Sure.
It's a hard balance to find in that role.
Totally.
Right. And so it's like, I have dudes that are family friends of mine that'll hit me up and say, hey, I'm, interviewing with Northwestern Mutual. Let me know your thoughts. And I give my thoughts, and I'm so grateful that I did it. And it's such a great opportunity. Like, you talk about sales, like setting meetings.
Mhm.
Cool. I mean, I still coach sales and do sales. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I was exposed at an age where I'm very lucky, especially because I didn't get exposed to that type of stuff till after sports. So when everyone else was, in internships and doing what they had to do in the workforce, or entrepreneurship or whatever it may be in college, I'm sitting here, and I'm grinding, trying to make it in sports. And so I was glad that I just got shoved into this freaking beast of an industry that was like, whoa, I got to talk to people about money. Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, what is all this? I didn't even know what a gosh darn loan was. You know what I'm saying? It was like, so anyway.
Yeah, and we interviewed a friend, Ryan McNeely, which you may know. Yeah, and
What did he say about it?
no, not about Northwestern Mutual, but the act.
He's a client of mine.
Was
When I
it?
was
Was
there,
it?
yeah.
So I think it all relates, meaning he got his start doing door-to-door sales. And a lot of people I know that were much younger, they worked for like Cutco, the knife company, going door-to-door and
I
selling
remember
knives.
that, yeah.
And like those types of early entries into the business world and sales in particular, I think are hugely important for young people because it really shows you how to be dedicated to something and how to be
Comfortable.
uncomfortable talking to somebody about
Totally.
something. And that can be applied to literally anything in business.
Anything. And Ryan, shoot, I was his roommate at the time when he went and did that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going out and I'm going door to door.
Yeah.
And it's freaking, or it might have been one summer after.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, I mean, just what an experience. Even, that's that. Yeah. I mean, go knock 60 doors a day, 100 doors a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Sure. You want to get told no? All right. Well, you're going to be able to relate to people. Be able
Exactly.
to know what tone is. You're going to know. Dude, come on.
And it goes back to the sports. You practice, and you get
failure.
Yeah.
Failure.
Iterate.
That's
You get better.
baseball players. I'm like, dude, like you're going 3 for 10. You're a stud.
Yeah.
I was like, you make phone calls. You want to set meetings, whatever you want to do. You want to have meetings to pitch your business. Okay. It might take, 10 times to get 3 yeses, 1 yes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not even a yes. So I'm just like, let's roll with the guys that have failed.
One of the kind of an interesting exercise that we did when we were first starting our company is we were trying to position it to raise money based on conversion rate. So we had the product, so we kind of backed into it. It was very straightforward with the math. If you've got a list of 100 people, 100 calls that you make, how many of those can you actually convert?
Yep.
And then if you scale that to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000, et cetera, you can kind of back into your expectation for your growth and your revenue stream, et cetera. So it's always interesting to see in different industries how many calls you have to make or how many
Yeah.
doors
I
you have
love
to
it.
knock on in order to get a yes.
And I like the more that I see it, it's like it really is sign.
Mhm.
It's more of like less of like skill, and I heard someone talk about it the other day, but it's like, yeah, it's really when you do it that much, numbers,
it's
and it's
mathematical at that
metrics.
point.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
metrics and numbers don't really lie
No.
unless someone's messing them up.
Right.
Which, hey, we've all been there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean,
Somebody's playing around in Salesforce, changes some
yeah.
stuff around.
Oh, geez, Louise. Yeah.
That wasn't inbound. That was actually outbound.
Yeah. The finagling of the systems. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
All right. So that kind of puts us in a good spot to talk about your newest venture. What are you working on? What are you doing?
Yeah, so that's kind of loop everything. Actually, that was good timing, I think. With Northwestern Mutual, I had experience with sales, and then I went into the marketing side of things that really gave me an opportunity to see a lot of the front end stuff, and so now what I'm doing is, in within that, it was okay after post purchase. What does that look like after the top of the funnel? So now I'm involved with customer experience space because of my experience, kind of started with Northwestern, going to marketing, and then really going to my experience with Snow Cosmetics, and even before that with the affiliate company is, okay, once someone buys, what happened?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And so we got to start experiencing the middle of the funnel, just post purchase, and then also all the way at the back end of the funnel. And so, okay, we understand, what the creative needs going into what needs to be in front of the customer. Okay, cool. And why they bought. Okay, cool. And then how do we get them to continue to buy? And so really with the coming full circle. And now, I would say in the D2C space, our goal is to be, through e-customer, really a front runner inside of, the expertise from D2C customer experience as much as possible. And I think we have an opportunity to do it just because there's high acquisition costs right now going on with e-commerce and it's a competitive market, and there's just a lot trending there. So that's where a lot of my time is being spent, just trying to make sure that we're there for brands and inside the D2C space and online retailing. And full circle, it kind of just landed in my lap. It wasn't like I did anything, it was just, what do you know? Where's the opportunity? And here you go. So it's cool. I'm excited about it. I think it's been fun. I'm just excited to see where it goes.
It's called the e-customer, did you say?
E-customer, yeah.
Okay.
So we basically we help. I think, what do we say? We help brands build unbreakable bonds with customers that last a lifetime.
So is it just you, or did you start this with?
Yeah, it is. It is just me. Yeah, I kind of I utilize some people in the space as much as possible, and it's a service based business. It's more of like an agency or consultant agency right now, and it's fun, it's cool. Where it's gonna go, I'm not really sure. I'm excited to see this next quarter 4 to quarter 1 is going to be exciting for us, just kind of moving forward, and for me to see what we can do now with multiple D2C brands instead of just one or a couple. I think we have a good opportunity to kind of use a lot of our strategies and things that we've learned. We have a very offensive approach to the back end of customer experience, which is more innovative in the space. I'm a big believer in like touch points are everything. How much can you talk to your customers? Where not a lot of people are afraid to talk to customers. So it's exciting, and I think the opportunity is there to do some cool things. And so I'm just excited to see where it goes. And products are just, the product space right now is big. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are getting involved. So
just to see if I understand correctly.
Mhm.
So is your niche essentially to help brands recapture existing customers, meaning
Great
repurchase?
question. So yeah, and this is where it's kind of, a lot of the guidance we've gotten is how can we niche down and kind of make this specific, because it's very hard.
Yeah.
Because there is so much involved product and customers.
Mhm.
It's like that's a whole monster in itself. And so, where we kind of lie is we're helping facilitate everything. And what I mean by that is how can we automate the customer experience and the customer journey, right? So we don't need people. Well, you need people at some point. Okay. So then when we do implement people, okay, what does that look like? What's that structure? And so really e-customer is kind of our focus is how can you build your winning formula based off of automation and people. And that's going to look different maybe for everyone. And so I hope that makes sense. Really, we're helping structure, the back end of a customer, because we understand the front end of what it takes to get the customer. I'm a big believer in like automation tells people what they need. People are able to tell them why they need it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So are you using other like third-party software products to implement into, let's say, a brand's
Yes.
full stack, like a
Of tech
Klaviyo or
stack. Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, you nailed it right
Yeah.
there. So we're putting together a customer playbook, and we have a deck, and it has a tech stack in it.
Mhm.
And so yeah, you nailed it. It's, I partner with some of the CX platforms, the customer experience platforms, Rich Panel. There's Gorgeous that I'm close with, and those two really do a good job helping us understand what we need to do, or what I need to do, or what I can even provide to the brand. Really, you can't do much without metrics or numbers. So it's it's been good even finding out our target customer, right? Like the people side of things is very interesting too, especially outsourcing BPOs, call centers. Like that involvement started back in the marketing space, when we were sending calls and we needed to listen to calls, we needed to take the calls, we needed to do what we had to do on the phones. And so that's where a lot of kind of the experience goes full circle. And yeah, I'm grateful to be kind of in an opportunity where I can be guidance in the space.
It's awesome.
So is the value proposition here, as a consumer, I have different options, and it's both of those companies have figured out how to sell to me, why they're getting certain products in front of me, but we're worried about post that. Is the value proposition, this customer experience has been significantly better with, company one over company two. From now on, I'm going to make sure I continue to go back to company one, just from a dumbed down version.
Oh,
am
yeah.
I
Cool.
okay?
Cool. Yeah. So sure. I think more of it, we can think of even more systems and processes. Like, why did we choose this platform to use? What does that look like? How much of the automation are we using? Right? How many agents or reps do we need? Do we need to go in-house, or do we need to go out-house? What makes sense to the business? Right? So a lot of that, and then SOPs, workflows. Cool. What are our agents doing? What are our representatives doing? Things like that, direct engagements, what are they saying on the phones? How are we handling threats, right? So, okay, chargebacks, social threats, those are huge. So how do you handle all those holistically as a business? And, you go back to the customer journey, I look at a lot of it like a defensive and offensive approach. Offensive, sales and marketing, how can we get the customers? Defensive is how can we keep the customers? Going back to sports. So, that's why I talk about the winning formula. Okay, what does your offense look like? And what does your defense look like? And can you put it together for your winning formula? And so, we have case studies that have, we've gotten to a couple cool groups. And so that's really where we lie, is just trying to provide as much insight on holistic customer experience as possible, because we've been in it. Like you said, I was with a company called Snow Cosmetics, my buddy Josh, who hopefully comes on this podcast. I can, give him, he's really smart.
Yeah.
Just
Josh, where you at?
Yeah, Josh. Yeah, just his brain just thinks different. And so, we got early exposure into a lot of what we were doing with Snow because of the marketing and affiliate world. So then it was like, okay, so what we did is really we were calling back customers that didn't convert. We said, hold on, can we do this with abandoned carts, people that just leave their cart? And so then we started calling customers back. Oh, people actually want to be talked to by the brands. So then we got to experience just a lot of different ways, like to do outreach on top of what we were originally doing. And so we had a very innovative approach that is kind of now all tying together because of cost per acquisitions going up. The CAC is, people are kind of really worried about it, which obviously it's always going to go up. Platforms are getting more competitive, whatever it may be. People are scared, tracking issues, iOS, all this different stuff. So
people are spending less money too.
Yeah. we happen to be in a bit of a recession.
Yeah,
Don't know if you noticed.
So it's, but if you get their emotions, they'll buy. So it's just one thing I'll say, because you guys will probably love to talk about recession. As a quick story I like to tell about, Snow and Josh specifically is, when the recession hit, he brought in this article from Kellogg's 1920s. And he said, this is before it all went down. I think we were still in the office trying to, figure out what's going on. Man, I think there's like 8 of us in the room. I think just the management team. And he comes and he says, hey, I know there's a lot going on. He says, this is an article. I want us to read it right now. Kellogg's, everyone pulled out back in the 1920s. And Kellogg said, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to actually push further, and we're going to push harder. And he said, that's what we're going to do. And so I'm like, what's this guy talking about? And that's what we did. And so, I think we were talking about earlier too, is how can you take advantage of, those winters? So important. And so that's where really, I think a lot of these D2C brands is going to be at, and, own data is everything. And so if you can, take advantage of the current data that you've attracted, especially in the holidays, as much as possible, and just try to be different and stand out. It's a goal, but I don't know. It's we'll see what happens. I thought that was a cool story.
Yeah.
No, he's the youngest vice chair of Colliers International history. He's 29 years old. Absolutely fucking shit.
All right.
Okay, so we're talking about recession. We're talking about the potential of brands to start struggling. And it sounds like you guys have what you refer to as the winning formula, winning process, winning formula, the game plan. So is there a strategic play here? If you understand what to put in front of customers, why they're buying what they're buying, the process of maintaining those customers, making sure they feel appreciated, calling them back when their cart's empty or they didn't make the transaction, or why didn't you do the 4 for 2 deal, whatever it might be. You have all that psychology and all that process in play. Now you find struggling brands here in the next month, 2 months, 3 months. I look at it almost like a quasi roll-up private equity play, if you will. A guy named Robbie that we had on here, a few months ago, they were building these brands based on some AI-driven processes and data scrapers, et cetera, to sell specific products. So if you can take struggling brands, acquire them for pennies on the dollar, and then put in the missing pieces that they were missing, is that a potential play?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking to do that. The VC and the private equity individuals, groups of people are definitely getting more involved. Just it's attractive. The one thing that's very ironic with all that is it set a new expectation inside of the industry that COVID's going to be COVID forever, ain't it? Okay, so I think a lot of those individuals have had an awakening. VCs, private equities, oh wow, the numbers from 2020, 2021 aren't necessarily true, valid and consistent. Well, no, you got to continue to scale and grow. So I think that it is. You're right, and going back to, I think own data is everything. So the brands that do have customers, the brands that do have first party, a strong base, there's loyalty inside of that, who can buy for life, right? The kryptonite to cost per acquisition continue to go up, and CAC rising is ultimately a lifetime value, right? So that's 101, right? So it's okay, cool. Well, how can we get customers to buy forever? So I think so. Yes, that is definitely in a play. There's actually a guy that I've been meaning to get in touch with that is very involved with that, and so we'll see what happens. I think Josh and some of these other guys that I know definitely have preferred to start in the teenager stage, where there are some customers, there are processes and systems set up, and how can we come in and implement and kind of go up from there, as opposed to starting in the incubate stage or the the adolescent stage. So I think you're right on.
So with what you're seeing and what you've experienced so far, because everyone talks about how the CAC with Facebook has gone up exponentially.
Of course.
TikTok's the new kid in town,
Yeah.
and it's a lot cheaper to acquire a customer via TikTok. As far as I know, I'm not in the
Yeah.
D2C.
You're not a
e-com space.
talker?
Yeah, I'm
No,
not a
it seems
talker.
like you know what's going on though. That's good.
But from
You're not
your
a talker.
experience, yeah,
I want to see you a little.
Yeah, that's right. I think we got it.
maybe
huh?
one day. Maybe one day.
Uh,
If we get enough comments, I will talk.
yeah, that's right. He's
Um,
talking UGC style.
Exactly. So what are you seeing in terms of trends is the main question, and how are you addressing that with some brands?
Yeah,
you might work with?
I think everyone's kind of just trying to figure it all out, especially, tracking's been a huge issue with it. It's like kind of a double whammy, and so you got to try different stuff ultimately, and you got to try different creative and different platforms, see what's working, and really just go from there. I think some of my close media buyer friends would be able to answer specifics a lot better than myself, and that's why I'm very grateful that I have a lot of them around. Shout out to all you guys, but I just, it's a tough world. And so, like you said, if you are acquiring data, how can you squeeze the most lemon out of that data
Yeah.
possible?
Right.
And the ones that you are able to squeeze fruitful juice out of, how can you get them to remain fruitful forever?
Yeah.
That's I think the name of the game.
And you mentioned UGC, so there's a lot of times user generated content for those who don't know.
when you're just shooting like this.
Exactly.
Hey.
Yeah. So that it's really, from what I've seen, it's either you go that route and hire professional UGC people,
Yeah.
or you go the influencer route, which is nearly the same thing, but it's kind of a different process. So how have you, in your past experience, worked with either or both, and what do you prefer?
Yeah, good question. I think it all goes into everything. I was with pretty smart creative director here for a company called Audion Hearing. Alex, a good dude, and he was just saying you got to test everything. I was with another one of my good buddies. He's one of the biggest media buyers I know in the UK, Sam Collier, and he said, you gotta test stuff. You gotta run stuff. And so you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes you don't think anything's gonna convert. It goes crazy. Sometimes, you think something's gonna, convert and it just doesn't. Right. And so one thing that I understand is you gotta test everything. You gotta try different stuff. Copies so gosh darn important. And the one thing that I understand about creators, and you said influencers, I think creators are becoming so valuable to companies. And so if you can get a creator that's a good fit, JT Barnett's a huge believer in it. A lot of these TikTok guys or girls that really believe in what TikTok's bring is the creators have ability to mold with brands that can come, JT said a flow for progressive. Brands are going to start having a flow, for where there's different faces. I know that, Snow hires, an in-house creative team, right? So now they're really trying to bring everything in-house. How can you mold these creators to really represent your brand as strong as possible? And I think that's exciting for everyone. I think that's exciting for brands. I think that's exciting for creators overall. So I hope that answers your question. I think that's where it's going.
Gotcha.
So what type of companies what's an ideal company for yours to work with? What's the most ideal type of client?
Yeah, good question. I love companies that have a strong base, right? So they have, a loyal following of some kind, and their product's tied with emotion, and they push heavy traffic, and they're aggressive in their marketing, and they want to continue to acquire customers, because that's fun. And I like, more of the teenager stage. I would say 5 to 50 million a year is the sweet spot. That's when you can really take advantage of that winning formula, that really like, okay, where's our defense? Where's our offense? How can we mold them together? And let's see what we can do. So I would say that, I like I said, just, companies that are making an impact. And that's why I say emotion a lot of the time, is because, it's that you're able to, cosmetics is a big thing, and that's a very emotional driven, or some of the nutritional companies you got to be careful with, I think. But you know what I mean? But it's fun to just work with people that want to, I think, brands that are trying to improve their customers' life. And so that's what I try to do as much as possible, just those type of companies.
Gotcha. So it sounds like at that stage, 5 to 50 million, that's the point of like major scaling opportunities where you're getting to a critical mass. You have, like you said, a loyal following to a degree, and now you need different tools in place to be able to take it to the
Sure.
100 million plus.
For sure. And I think it comes down to people. That you need people. You can have a D2C brand that has 10 people that does 10 million, for sure. I mean, there's ways to do that, but like we talk about, the more that people are not selling products online as much and building brands. And I think that's where a lot of these people that have always just sold products are going to be facing a little bit of, a shift. Oh no, you know what I mean? So that's why I think it's a sweet spot, is because you can, and you have the resources to go after things. If you got to use technology, if you got to make things happen, we're big believers in, a fire ready mentality, is you got to be able to adapt and run after stuff and use the resources, not have the resources, but be resourceful and make sure that you're using them and they're sharp as possible if you can. And so that's why I like those companies.
Gotcha.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so shifting away from, you got any other questions?
No, go for it.
So you do a lot of things in life. It seems like you've been a very busy guy, but one of the things that I think I've seen for quite some time, and a lot of people that know you or follow you have seen as well, you're very involved with kids, teenagers, giving back through a variety of different channels. And, a lot of us, I feel like, wait till, later in life to start doing that or giving back, but it's cool to see you do it at a younger age. What was the driver, when you said, hey, I really need to make this happen and make this work?
Yeah, good question. That's a great question. Dude, I don't really know, to be honest. I think it's something that I've just been blessed with in a way. It's always been a calling of mine, I guess you can say, and that sounds cliche as ever. But I just, for me, it's like I'm grateful for the people that have been able to give back towards me. And without a lot of my mentors, I mean, you really don't know much, right? It's, you don't know what you don't know. And so I think it's, my duty to help give back as much as possible. And it's been a fit, yeah, like I said, I'm grateful for the mentors, and, I would like someone to come in and kind of help me get from point A to point B, avoid the bumps in the roads on the way. Well, why not? Right. So that's, kind of like what you guys started this podcast, I feel like, right. So that's ultimately where I'm at. And, yeah, I learned just as much from doing the mentorship as they do from me. So, it's a great time.
I have a coined phrase that I like
Yeah.
to use: selfishly selfless.
Okay.
'Cause I personally believe there's no true selfless act, because you get something out of everything you do.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if I want to help somebody, it's because it makes me feel good, and it in turn causes benefits in the world. So selfishly selfless.
Selflessly selfish.
Yeah, you can use that.
Selfish. No, I like that.
It's a
Dude,
bit
I
of a
think I
tongue
will use
twister.
that. Well, and one of my mentors had said, to me, he's gosh, he's just he's such a good dude. He's with the Dodgers right now. He's a hitting guru. He's like almost responsible for really the swing path, which is kind of the new swing that's happening inside of baseball. A lot of people coin it as the launch angle stuff, but it's really just the ability to match the plane of the baseball as it comes in as early as possible and stay through it as long as possible, right? That's like, you give yourself the best opportunity of hitting the baseball, it's great. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, it makes sense. It's just a lot of people complicate it.
Yeah.
So, he had said to me at one point, he's 72. He was almost an underdog in the space for a long time. He's 72. He was never in the big league. So, took a long time for him to kind of get out there and make the impact that he did. But he told me, look, he's written books, and, he's just such a good dude. And, he said, it's almost like you have a trust. And, ultimately, when you, as you grow knowledge and you have wisdom, it's your job to kind of spread the wisdom out, and in turn they can take what they want from the knowledge, and it's up to them. And so he just said, he believes that it's kind of like a trust, and it's his duty and our duty to give it back. I really like that a lot.
Me too. That's good. So before we get to the last question, which Chris will eloquently get into, can you tell the listeners about any other hobbies or things you like to do outside of work and mentorship?
Good question. I really don't do much, to be honest, besides that. I have a girlfriend, hang out with her a good amount, hang out with some friends.
Good.
But yeah. But I just, I work, and I'm involved with sports and student athletes, and I guess my time outside is watching sports. But it's one of those things where it's like, I don't always watch the games for like what they are. I always want close games, and I want those games so I can kind of see how the guys react, how they respond to specific situations, right? I want the environment that's going to push these guys to really see what they got deep down. So I think I watch sports in a different way, and not many people even understand that. I don't bet, I don't play video games, I don't do much besides really work on my ventures and hang out with the people that I like. So yeah, I guess
It's a life well lived. That's all
Thank
you
you,
need.
man. Thank you, man.
He's dedicated to the game. I like
Yeah.
it.
The game. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
All right. So the name of the podcast is Mind the Growth. So at the end of every podcast, we have to ask somebody one of the most important questions that we have been able to come up with is, what does the word growth mean to you?
Yeah, no, it's good. And I do like the way that you guys explained it a lot. And a couple of things you said, it's like, I forgot the exact way you phrased it, but you're trying to get people that, may be able to share some wisdom to us. And then I think you followed it up and you said, like, we're not always you said grow in multiple aspects of your life. And then I think you said grow. And then you said, if I'm not specifically great in one area, hopefully someone can come fill that. And I really like that a lot about what you guys said about the growth. And so, the one thing that I thought of, and what I think about growth is, there's a ton of different definitions or whatever you may be, but I like the metaphor of a snake and, shedding your skin to get to the new. And so, that can be in different facets of your life, like you guys talk about. But I just think that the metaphor of, being able to grow into something new, and really shed the old, I think it's really powerful. And so that's kind of what I think about when I hear grow is, how can you continue to use your experience and what life brings to grow and step into a better version of you.
A metaphor as unique as the name Nicholas.
No, that's right.
I love it. That's
cool.
That's
I'm
that's a good
terrified
one.
of snakes, but I love the response, but I'm terrified of snakes.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
No joke. And so, which is really funny, I think talked about uncomfort a couple times. And so I'll just wrap this up. I know we're wrapping this up, but I feel like the discomfort and the uncomfortability aspect of that, it's like what did you just say? I just lost my train of thought.
The snakes are scary.
Oh, snakes are scary.
Terrified
Jeez
of
Louise.
snakes.
Snakes on a plane.
Yeah, no. See, I wanted to. My mind wanted to like get
Yeah,
out
get
of this.
it.
Get out of this. We're not supposed to talk about weaknesses, man.
Yeah.
But no. But I'm like, dude, I feel like these things are coming up in my life. Like even certain types of music where like I'm doing breath work or like I'm scared of these different things, but where I used to be really scared of like dark or like I'm a terrible swimmer, but now I'm like I have like face like. I'm like finding these things, like you said, uncomfortability. And it's like things that I used to be so scared of when I was younger, or things that gave myself a bad connotation or, reminded me, or like I had a negative story written about that
Right.
specific thing. For some reason, it's turning into like a good story. So I just,
Typically does. Your mind makes it a lot more scary than it winds up being. And when you get past it, sometimes it's even enjoyable.
but literally,
It's like the cold plunge. If you do it enough,
Yeah.
suddenly you like it.
Yeah.
dude, the cold plunge. About the cold plunge. One thing I heard was, I think it was Tony Robbins, but he said like, I don't negotiate with myself. And he used the metaphor of the cold plunge. It's like, it's going to be cold no matter what. So it's like, okay, if you feel like you got to go in, just go in now before you think about it again. Like you said, you just gosh starting to do it. And I was like, don't negotiate with yourself. You're ready in that action. You got to go now.
I like it.
I like it.
Well, maybe one day we can cold plunge, boys.
Yeah.
I love that. Absolutely.
Next
Yeah, man.
episode in the
Yeah.
cold
Next.
plunge.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man, I
Really
appreciate you
it.
guys having me. I wish I would have got a little bit more about you guys, but I know this is your podcast. So.
Next time.
All right. We're boring, man. We don't,
Yeah,
we don't,
no,
we don't have
no,
much to
it's-
talk about.
No, you guys got.
That's where we want to learn more about the
Dude,
guests.
no,
That's why
I
we're here.
appreciate you guys for
Absolutely,
real.
man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
Cheers.
it.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, y'all.